Welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to be teaching us how to draft this corset top with asymmetric neckline and hemline. Please don't forget to subscribe, comment, like and share. Thank you. So now I have gone ahead to mark out the shoulder line, the chest line, the bust point line, the under bust line, the waistline, and the hip level I have is 10 inches, so I went up by 2 inches to get the upper hip level. Just make sure you get your hip level. So now I'm going to go ahead and place the shoulder measurement on the shoulder line and on the chest line. I'm going to be ruling a straight line across, just as you can see. So I'm going to be marking 3 inches by 3 inches for the neckline. It's just a guide, that's not the neck we're working with. So on the shoulder I'm going to mark 1 inch for shoulder slope. So I'm going to connect the lines, just as you can see. So on the chest line I'm going to go up by 3.5, then come in by half an inch. So I'm going to be connecting the lines, just as you can see, to get our armhole curve. So now I'm going to be placing our nipple to nipple measurement. So the nipple measurement I'm working with is 7.5. So what I have there is 3.75 that I have marked. So I'm going to be rolling a straight line across, just as you can see. So for the standard dart intake on the waist is 0.75. I marked it on both sides. So I'm just going to be connecting the lines, just as you can see. I'm going to connect it to the upper hip level that I went up by 2 inches, if you remember. Now I'm going to go to the shoulder. I'm going to get the midpoint of the shoulder. So what I have, I'm going to connect to the bust point. The next thing now is I'm going to be placing the bust measurement, the waist measurement plus the 1.5 inches dart intake. So I'm going to be dividing by hip by 4. So it's 10.75 that I have, because I'm working with hip 43. So I've marked it. So I'm going to be connecting the lines, just as you can see. I'm going to connect the line. So this is our basic body. So now we are going to alter it. So the next thing now is I'm going to take 1 inches for bust dart. This is the difference between the front and back waistline. So the next thing we are going to do, we are going to close our bust dart, just as you can see, because of the shoulder tightening we want to do. So I'm going to use my paper tape to hold it down. Then I'm going to take my ruler and reshape the lines, just as you can see, to avoid shortage. So the next thing is I'm going to take my scissors and open the shoulder, just as you can see. I'm going to open it up to the bust point. Please make sure you open it up to the bust point, as you can see. So I'm going to take the scissors back and open it by the side, because if you don't open it by the side, the pattern paper is not going to lay properly. So next I'm going to take my tape rule and measure the distance of what I have cut out, the distance that is there. I have 1.5, so I'm going to divide it by 0.75. So I'm going to mark 0.75 on that line, and I'm going to mark it outward so that we can get our new shoulder line. So I'm going to open up the bust dart. I'm going to take my scissors and open it up like this, so that we can close the shoulder dart. Do you understand? So the next thing we are going to do now, we are going to close up the dart. I'm closing it up to that 0.75 that I marked. So I'm using my paper tape to hold it down, just as you can see. So the next thing, I'm going to rule a new shoulder up to the 0.75 that I mark outwards. So now I'm just going to close the bust dart, because there's a space there, so we need to use our paper tape to hold it down. So I'm just going to use the paper tape to hold it down, just as you can see. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment and share. So I'm going to hold it down, just as you can see. So I'm just going to take my ruler and just outline the lines that are there to make the lines more visible. I'm making the lines more visible. So the next thing is on the shoulder. Now I'm going to be connecting it to that 0.5 inward that I marked. For the under bust tightening, I marked 0.75 for the side front, and center front I marked 0.5. So I'm just going to connect the lines, just as you can see. I'm going to connect the lines to get a nice curve. I'm going to do the same at the other side as well, just as you can see. Then I'm going to be connecting the dart leg to meet the upper hip line, just as you can see. So on the chest line, I marked 1.5 inches across. So I'm just going to be rolling a straight line just like this. So now I'm going to be doing the tightening of the over bust. So on the center front, I mark 0.75. The side front, I mark 0.5. So I'm just going to be connecting the lines just like this. So the next thing I'm going to do after connecting the line is to get which one is more, which lines is more. So I'm to replace it on the one that is less. So now I'm going to be replacing it on the one that was on the center front. So the next thing, I'm going to get my bust bridge. So I marked half an inch on the chest line to the bust point line. So now I'm just going to be connecting this. I'm going to be covering the lines to the first dart leg. So I'm also be connecting it to the under bust line. We're going to be connecting the side of our cup. So before you do that, on the chest line, I'm going to go in by 1 inch. As you can see, I've marked it. So you make sure you close your bust dart before doing this curve. So now I'm just going to curve it like this. I'm going to curve it to the under bust, just as you can see. So next thing now is at the side front of the oval bust, I'm going to be connecting the lines to the armhole, just as you can see. I'm going to connect the lines. So remember that we took 0.75 and 0.5. So I'm just going to be reshaping my armhole just like this. I'm just going to use 0.5. I didn't use 0.5 and 0.75, just use 0.5 for that armhole. So now we're going to go to the shoulder. So the neckline I'm working with measurement is 3.5 inches that I marked. So that's what we are working with. So on this line, I'm going to mark 1.5 inches. I'm going to mark 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to connect the lines, just as you can see. I'm going to mark 1.5 inches. So I've connected. So it's a 3-part cup. So I'm just going to close this just to get they are equal. So I'm just going to mark 1 inch on that side. I've marked 1 inch. So I marked 1.5 inch on this side, on that first dart leg, then 1.5 inch as well. So here I closed the dart. So I marked I think I marked 1.5 inch as well. So I'm just going to close the dart like this. But there's no need closing it since I already have the point. So I'm just going to take my ruler and curve the line. So make sure you close your bust dart by this side so that you can get a perfect curve. So I can get a perfect curve, just as you can see. So I've marked it out already. I'm just going to try and reshape the line at that armhole to connect to the armhole. I'm just going to reshape it, but the lines is too thick, so I ended up cleaning it just to get a new line. So this is what I have done. So the waist snatching I'm doing is 3 inches. The actual waist I have is 29, so I'm going to do 26. So 3 inches, I'm going to divide it by 4 for the front and for the back. That's for the 2 sides of the front and for the 2 sides of the back. So 3 inches divided by 4 is 0.75. Now I'm going to take my ruler and just slant the lines just as I have done. I'm going to rule a straight line just like this. So on the waistline, so the 0.75 that I marked, I'm going to divide it into 2, just like this. I'm going to divide it into 2. So I'm going to be taking my ruler to just slant the lines just as I have done. I'm going to do it on both sides. I'm going to be slanting the lines. So now, I said we are doing 3 inches waist snatching, just like I'm using 1.5 inches for the front and I'm using 1.5 inches for the back pattern. So this is what we have. So the next thing, the length. So from the waistline, I marked 6 inches downwards. I marked 6 inches. So this is our new. So now we're going to be doing the hemline, the asymmetric hemline. So I'm just going to be curving it like this. You remember that the points are not sharp. So I'm just going to be curving it just as you see me do, curving it like this. So you might want to go up more depending on how deep you want the curve to be. So depending on your choice, depending on what you want. So on that hemline by this side, I'm going to mark half an inch. Then I'm going to be using the curve part of the ruler just to curve that half an inch to the waist measurement, the waistline I mean. So I'm just going to retrace this hemline that I have. So the cup has an asymmetric line. So you are just going to close the cup like this. Then you are just going to use your pencil to trace out the cup. Because if you don't close it, the lines will not be equal. So I make sure that I close it. Then I draw the lines, the asymmetric line, just as you can see me do. So this is what we have. You can go up a little bit depending on what you want. On the shoulder, I'm just going to be slanting these lines like this. These 2 slanted lines. It's just for tightening. So I'm just going to use 0.25 just to tighten the shoulder. So you are going to be closing it up. You are going to be closing up that tightening. So use your paper tape to hold it. Close it up, not down. Use your paper tape to hold it. This is to avoid gaping. So then you take your ruler and rule a new line. You know that once you do something like that, there will be shortage. So you rule a new line just as I have done. So the shoulder too is asymmetric, it's not straight. So now I'm just trying to like curve the lines just as you see me do. I'm just going to curve it, but I'm going to use the marker to just highlight it. But I think the pencil was giving me a nice curve actually. So this is what we have. So for the back pattern, I've gone ahead to mark out all my lines already. So I'm going to be placing the shoulder measurement just as you can see. I'm going to place in the shoulder measurements. I'm going to rule a straight line across. So the shoulder, the measurement of the shoulder I'm working with in front is 3.5. So I'm going to mark 3.5 here as well. So I'm going to go down by 1 inch for shoulder slope. So on the chest line, I'm going to mark 3.5 inches, then go inwards by half an inch. I'm going to be connecting the lines just as you can see. I'm going to connect the lines, then curve it to get our armhole curve, just as you can see. So now I'm just going to be marking the dart. The dart is just a guide, but I'm just going to be marking it. So then I'm going to be ruling a straight line. So the dart is your nipple to nipple measurement. So I went in by 0.75 on both sides. So I'm just going to be connecting the lines just as you can see. I'm going to be connecting the lines on both sides just as you can see. Connecting it. Next, I'm going to be placing the bust measurement, the waist measurement plus 1.5 inch dart intake, and I'm going to be placing the hip measurement divided by 4. So I'm going to be placing it. I'm going to be connecting the lines just as you can see. I'm going to be connecting all the lines all together just as you can see. So at the center back below the chest line, I marked 1 inches. So I'm just going to be slanting the lines just as you can see to the point I marked for the bust measurement. I'm just trying to get a nice curve. So I'm just going to be dividing that line into 2. So this is just to eliminate gap in the excess. So the part that I marked X is going to be cut out. So now I'm just going to rule a straight line like this. So that's the shoulder that we are working with. That place is going to be cut out. So now below the waistline, I'm going to mark 6 inches down, just like I did for the front. So I'm going to rule a straight line across, just as you can see. So on that M line at the center back, I mark 1 inch. So above it, I mark 1.5 inches. So I'm going to connecting the lines, just as you can see. I'm going to connect the lines. For the waist tightening, remember that we shared 3 inches by 4. So I'm just going to be working with 0.75 for this. So I'm just going to rule a straight line across. So that's 0.75. I'm going to divide it by 2. So I'm just going to be slanting the lines just like this. I'm going to slant it on both sides and slant it at the bottom as well. I'm going to slant it like this. Slant it. Next, now on the M line, I'm going to go out by half an inch. I'm going to go out by half an inch just like this. So I'm just going to be connecting the line to the waistline just as you see me do. I've connected the line. Just like we curved the M line of the front, I'm also going to do the same for the back. Just as you can see, I'm doing the same thing for the back. So you carefully curve your lines. So now for the back shoulder, we're also going to slant it just to eliminate gaping. So I'm just going to slant, give it a straight line like this. So I'm going to use 0.25. I'm just going to use 0.5. I'm going to share 0.25 into 2. So that's what I did there. So the next thing now is I'm going to be closing up those lines. I've already closed it before, but I'm just going to be closing it again. So I'm going to use the paper tape to hold it down. So the next thing is I'm going to rule a new shoulder line. I'm going to rule this new line because if you close something up like that, you're going to be having shortage. So this is to eliminate gaping of the shoulder at the back. Now I'm going to go ahead and label the pattern A, B, C, D for the cup. Then I'm going to put arrows for where we are going to be joining. So for the center front, we are going to be cutting on fold. As you can see, we are going to be cutting on fold. So for the sides of the pattern, you're just going to be cutting 2 pieces each. So I've gone ahead to also label the yoke. So for the back as well, I've labeled it. So you're also going to be cutting 2 pieces of that pattern as well. So now this place is for the eyelet loop. So the next thing you are going to do, you are going to make sure you close up your bust dart before cutting. You're just going to close it up with your paper tape. So I'm just using this pencil to trace out the lines. Now you are going to go ahead and cut out your pattern, but on the hemline you are going to close up that and retrace the asymmetric line so that you don't have shortage. So you are just going to carefully cut out your patterns. So if this is something you like, don't forget to subscribe, comment, like and share. Also, if you have questions, please drop your questions in the comment box. I'll be ready to reply and give you answers as well. So you are just going to carefully cut out your patterns just as you see me do. So just take your time while cutting your patterns. Don't be in a rush so that you don't make mistakes, and make sure that your patterns are labeled, so by the time you are cutting you are not putting A for B or C for D. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. This is what we have for both the front and back patterns. So this is the patterns that you are going to be cutting out for your fabric. Thank you for watching, guys.